this section we're going to think about principles of biblical interpretation. Two tasks have to be performed when we come to interpret the Bible. First of all, task A, we need to perform a careful and systematic study of Scripture to discover the original and intended meaning. The technical word for that is exegesis. And then task B, to find out the Bible's meaning and to apply it here and now to our lives. So task A, we need to ask questions that relate to the text. For example, who is the author? Who is speaking at this particular point in the passage? I can remember reading through the book of Job, for example, and getting a bit confused as to whether Job was speaking or one of his friends was speaking or maybe even God was speaking. You've got to understand who's actually speaking at each point in the passage. Who was the book originally written for? And when was it written? And what do we know about the times and the culture and the traditions of that day? It's very important to understand some of those things in order to interpret the Bible properly. And then what was the occasion of the book? Why was it written in the first place? And then there are questions related to content. What type of literature is it? There is a vast difference between, for example, Daniel 6 and Daniel 7. Daniel 6 is history. The first few chapters are a narrative story about Daniel and his friends. And then you get to chapter 7 and it changes completely. It's apocalyptic, it's prophetic, it's weird and wonderful visions. And you can't apply and interpret chapter 6 in exactly the same way as chapter 7. What do we know about this type of literature? What is the sense of the sentence that you're reading? Are you reading something which is a figurative statement? The trees of the field clap their hands. The righteous will be like trees. The camel that goes through the eye of a needle. Or Jesus saying that we need to pluck out our eye or cut off our arm. Hopefully he was speaking figuratively. And what did these words mean at the time of writing? You know, words don't have fixed or single meanings. And so we need commentaries, we need study tools to help us to understand what these words meant when they were written originally. Words change all the time, even in our own generation. The word wicked, for example, has been flipped around to mean something which is really, really good. Or the word gay has changed dramatically in its meaning over the last 40, 50 years. Words change in their meaning all the time. And also our understanding of words is different from now. So if you're talking about the word shepherd, a shepherd in Bible times had a different kind of role to today's shepherds. The word slave is also loaded with all kind of historical connections and connotations, because in our minds the word slave immediately conjures up slave trade and oppression and violence and aggression and displacement. But the word slave in the Bible would have had a different feel to it. And so when we read that word, we must be careful not to overlay our own understanding of the word from recent history onto the ancient world. We need to interpret a word in relation to the sentence too. Always refer to commentaries. Always refer to Bible dictionaries, study tools, anything else that helps you to understand what that word means in that sentence. And what are the meanings of these words now? How does the word relate to similar words elsewhere in the Bible? So that's task A, a careful and systematic study of the Bible and to understand the original intended meaning, exegesis.